I want you to notice how much you react in life, and not just an explosive and over-the-top form of reactivity, like someone triggers you and you yell at them, but even just subtle forms of reactivity, like a disturbing thought arises in your mind, and then you just kind of feel agitated, or an uncomfortable feeling arises in the body, and then you want to avoid it, or a pleasurable feeling arises in the body, and then you want to grasp onto it and latch onto it and hold onto it and cling to it, even though it's a fleeting and temporary experience. See, reactivity is something that we're basically always doing, especially because our modern world is set up in this like very fast-paced lifestyle, right? It's like we're just like always got to do something, right? And we're not really, especially in the Western world, able to just sit and regulate the nervous system. This isn't really valued in our culture. And without having a regulated nervous system, you're bound to be sick in a multitude of ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You actually cannot see reality clearly with an unregulated nervous system. You can't relate to it properly. You just can't be well and have a clear perception of life. It's just not going to happen. You're always in survival mode. You're always afraid. Always have to do something. Something's got to be fixed from this. It's coming from like this fearful, anxious place. So if you actually just look at your life moment to moment, you'll really notice that, yeah, I'm reacting in almost every moment to my thoughts. I'm identified with them. There's one thought that I react to. It's like I grasp onto this thought and I find my whole sense of self and reality in these thoughts. And I grasp onto the next one, the next one, and the next one. Kind of like a relay race where each runner passes on the baton to the next runner. It's like you pass off this reactivity chain to the next thought and the next thought and the next thought. You react to the feelings inside of you. You react to what people say, right? I'm not asking you to be perfect here either. I'm just asking you to just observe what is the case, what is true about your experience, right? This is why this is so powerful. It's because it's what's true. It's like, don't just believe what I say, but apply this to your experience. Is it true or not? Are you always just kind of unconsciously living on autopilot, reacting to life? Or are you actually applying a lot of mindful attention to life, noticing the feeling of your butt on your chair, your feet on the floor, or just aware of the thought in your mind right now without needing to grasp onto it and cling to it? Are you aware of the tensions in your body? Is there a lot of unnecessary tension in your body? So notice that all this stuff is like these subtle forms of like reacting and struggling against experience, against yourself essentially, and it creates a lot of unnecessary suffering. So in the modern world, a lot of the overstimulation that we, find ourselves, interacting with, right? This also leads to more unregulated states within the nervous system. So I want to emphasize the importance of really understanding your nervous system. I want you to actually take this on as a personal project. Really investigate your own nervous system. Learn about it. Read a book on it. Read a book called Anchored by Deb Donna. Good place to start. Why not? Without having a good understanding of your nervous system, essentially what's going to happen is you're going to be stuck in a particular state, typically an unregulated one. And you're going to think that like, oh, this is just what life is. When in actuality, there's a whole contrast of experience that exists beyond what you're typically used to. There's more regulated ways of being. There's healthier ways of being that most people just simply, they don't really know exist. So I want to talk about how to slowly begin regulating the nervous system so you can stop reacting to life. Right, two very important points here. Right, two most important are learning to be grounded in your present experience through awareness and inquiry. Awareness here just means meditation. Sitting in formal meditation practice. Developing a formal practice where you're sitting in a room, silent, completely undistracted, where you can just apply awareness to yourself. That's it. You can just watch experience arise and pass without needing to fix it, control it, or essentially react to it. Just allowing it to be as it is. Kind of stepping back and not interfering with this rhythm of life, with this flow of life. Next is inquire, which is just asking powerful questions like, why can't I just sit in a room and not distract myself? Why am I always distracting myself with junk food and porn and video games and the news? And like, why am I so absorbed in this stuff? Why am I so tense in my body? Why do I avoid the feelings in my body? Why can't I allow my thoughts and feelings to just arise and pass? Why am I always trying to like be in control in this sort of like subtly anxious way? Why am I always doing something? Why don't I feel comfortable just being still in the present? So it's like you're learning to dig into your mind. You're using meditation and just awareness, just essentially observation, to just sit and stop reacting to life, right, over time. And you're using inquiry to dig into life so you can see things that you didn't see before. Again, you have to really be honest about how unsettled you actually are. You'll actually notice that you are extremely unsettled in a lot of experiences. There's tensions that control you, uncomfortable feelings that control you that arise in the body. Right? It's actually subtle states of sickness that will control quite a lot. So some more stuff on just regulating the nervous system is actually cutting out, at least minimizing, a lot of the time you spend on your phone, like scrolling, looking at screens in general, just like screen time in general. This is one of the worst things you can actually do if you want to have a regulated nervous system. You actually want to minimize that, and then the time that you spend on a screen, what are you watching? Does it actually help you? You actually have to, when you're using the screen, use it for an actual purpose, not to mindlessly escape, which is how most of us are relating to it. Of course, even just cutting out things like junk food, highly processed foods. Right? This is just simply needed. Not overexerting energy, right? Not forcing. See, we in our culture have like this hustle grind set mentality, which is essentially just this overexertion of energy that I can tell is a subtle, well, it's not really subtle, but people's nervous systems are just in a state of fight. It's so obvious. It's just coming from an unregulated state. So it's like you're cutting out these things that essentially just make you sick. You're cutting out these things that just leave you feeling numb, dull, and disconnected from yourself, other living creatures, from your environment, from your pure consciousness. Right? And then you're embracing things that foster your connection to yourself, other living creatures, your environment, and your awareness, consciousness, the ground of being. Right? What are those things? Like I said, meditation, really the best one. Inquiry, yoga, stretching, having a flexible body, exercise, go for a run, lift some weights, move your body, right? Don't be such a stiff robot. Eating a lot of healthy foods that make you feel light, clear, sharp. Not foods that are high in like gluten, for example, right? Like you want to cut out something like gluten typically. Right? Typically what that means for most people is just eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. So another core point for regulating the nervous system is also heavy metal detox. There's actually heavy metals that get stuck in our organs that you actually need to remove from your body because they will screw up your psychological, emotional system. They'll impact you in ways that aren't just physical. Right? And a lot of foods actually contain heavy metals, like pop or soda, whatever you want to call it. Contain like lead, mercury, copper, things like this. A lot of fish is very high in heavy metals. Organ meats can be high in heavy metals. Right? Just do some simple research into that one. Right? Some other things are just getting a good night's sleep. Right? Super simple. You basically want to build yourself up to be someone who's simply very grounded in the present and the constantly changing nature of the present, where the complete, ever-changing flow of life can just move through you without you always fighting and struggling and reacting to life. Because a lot of the suffering that you experience is in your reactivity to life. It's these like reactive unconscious impulses that you do in relation to life, in relation to a feeling inside of you, a thought inside of you, right? In relation to yourself, in relation to others, in relation to a circumstance. So moving on from this video, for the next 24 hours, I'm going to be giving you some homework. For the next 24 hours, I want you to really pay attention to how much you go unconscious and how much you just react to life. And you can actually delude yourself here and say, nope, I'm not reacting to life, or I don't go unconscious. I'm completely aware. I was aware of what was happening 5 minutes ago. I'm aware when I'm listening to you right now, but actually you're just kind of listening on autopilot. Or 5 minutes ago you were on autopilot, but the mind kind of rationalizes it as like, nope, I was aware. And then you believe that thought, and then you're screwed. So I want you to really just pay attention to like, oh my God, like, yep, I go unconscious practically all the time, and I'm just like reacting to life, reacting to the bug that goes on my skin. Right, so I'm not asking you to be perfect here. It's like you don't have to like obsess over it or be perfectionistic about it. This is going to be another tendency to inquire into and be aware of. But it's about just noticing a lot of the subtlety that goes with reacting to life. It's not always just these explosive forms of reactivity, but these subtle things like there's a feeling in your body, and then there's a lot of tension in the body because you're trying to like subtly escape this feeling. You want to just not be in this experience, essentially. So that's it for this video. I want you to keep in mind how much your nervous system is going to shape up your entire experience of yourself, your environment, your relationship to others, and your experience of just existence itself, the nature of this existence itself. It's a really important aspect of human life. If you want to work with me one-to-one, you can apply to do so. Link is in the pinned comment. Take it easy.